Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last webinar of the year, of the decade. I'm pulling up the slides right now, so I'm hoping everyone's having a good finish to their year. And I'm also joined, as always, by Chris Sauber, who's with me. And
hello, everybody.
And as a reminder, okay, this will be going, the replay will be sent out to everybody who registered. So that means you, if you're on it now. And it's also going to go on YouTube as well as the podcast. So with that being said, this topic is something that's actually very important. It's a very important topic for a number of reasons. This is not just, obviously the most benefit is going to be for site owners or people that work at sites, but it's also a great, if you look at it from the angle of somebody wanting to get into research, all right, these four pillars, four stakeholders, okay, for what clinical research sites need to take care of, which we're going to get into. And there's more than four, but these are the four key ones, all right? This is going to help you, if you're not in the industry, get in the industry. All right, this is going to help you enter the industry. So there's four stakeholders, and let me pull up the slide right now so we can get going. But Chris, we did a podcast on this. So what do you think of this topic? These four stakeholders for site owners to take care of, because think of the angle. Okay, think of this angle. Of course, the site owners are going to benefit from this and people that work at sites. But if you're someone that's trying to break into the industry and you specialize on making one of these stakeholders happy or figuring out a strategy to deal with them, you're hired. Anyone.
Sure.
You specialize in any of these. So what do you think? What do you think while I'm searching for Carlos's slides?
What do I think about the four stakeholders?
Yeah, what do you think of this like simplifying what we're talking about? Because research is complicated, but if you break it down, compartmentalize it into simple things, and here's the slides I find. But like, give us your thoughts on this.
I don't know if I have any thoughts. I don't recall the four stakeholders. What are the four stakeholders?
PI, sponsors, employees, and patients. So when you're new, you have to focus on one of these, right? Because you're going to specialize in one of these aspects. That's why I tell people, get started as a patient recruiter. Get started. If you don't want to do that, get started as a physician recruiter. If you don't want to do that, learn how to get studies for sites.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And then you obviously can't specialize in keeping employees happy unless you're in the industry. But if you have a background in HR or something, I'm sure you have strategies.
Okay, so for newbies to research is probably recruitment, right? To get started in recruitment of patients, probably the easiest aspect.
Probably.
Probably a close second would be getting studies. It doesn't take too much knowledge in the industry to work on bringing studies to a site. Matter of fact, with about a half an hour of training, you should be good to go.
Half an hour?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Right? Give somebody a canned email. Say, here you go. Here's how you locate potential study opportunity.
This is true. We've had interns do this in the past, with a moderate degree of success too.
All right. So it's those two are very close in difficulty in developing any kind of ability, that is recruiting studies and recruiting patients. We'll take about the same amount of training, and we'll probably have about the same amount of results. Patients are probably a little bit more likely to have results, I would assume. Recruiting investigators would probably be the most difficult of the three. If you're just new to research, you don't know a lot about it.
Right.
You have to have a little better understanding to be able to discuss what the PIs are going to ask.
Unless you're one of those people with a well-connected, like a nurse would be a great example, or like a physician assistant.
Even so, they're not going to be they're not going to be experts in the area. If they're new to research, doctor's going to ask very specific questions to research, which they're not going to most likely know the answers to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
What will I make? I mean, common questions the PI is going to ask. What am I going to make? Right? Am I putting my license at risk? How much involvement? What do I have to do? Those kind of questions somebody who's research naive cannot ask or answer. Right? So probably the most difficult of the three, unless you're just posting ads, and then that's 30 seconds.
Right. So yeah. So these strategies are for site, primarily for site owners, but the smart people that are paying attention, that are listening, that are listening to this podcast, that are watching this video, that are on this webinar, the smart ones who are not site owners but want to break into the industry, they're going to figure out, okay, this is what's important for sites. I need to get good at one of these four things. And like Chris broke it down for you, probably the patient recruitment's the easiest. Mm-hmm. Then it's getting studies for sites, which is keeping sponsors and CROs happy. Then it's physicians, and the last stakeholder is the employees, which, again, if you come from an HR background or something, you'll be able to help out with. Otherwise, it's probably not. So site owners must balance the needs of their sites as well as the needs of the people who matter the most to the site, either because they bring income or assist the site in operating the business. This is we need to patent this. We need to copyright this foresight stakeholder model. This is something that we should copyright.
You said that last time.
Yeah, that was with the 4 levels of a physician.
Oh, that's right.
Level 1 through 4.
That's right.
But that was a classic. I think we'll do that. We'll talk to Rick Henry. Foresight stakeholders. So here they are. Okay, patients, physicians, sponsors, employees. Again, if you're on and you have a question, right, type it in the chat. And you don't know what may happen to the most engaged people. All right. So these are the 4 stakeholders, right? So let's start with what Chris says is the easiest. And what I say is the easiest to start out as, but it's actually the hardest of all of them to do well. And that's recruiting patients, keeping the patients happy, so retention. So first is recruitment. You can't retain anyone if you don't recruit.
Ah, good point.
Right? So that's the recruitment and then retention.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're starting out honing your skills for a site, you're not going to have the luxury of retaining anybody. You need to go out there and recruit so that you then can retain them. If you set up your relationship with these patients, guess what? Now you have a relationship, you have leverage. Okay, this is what relationships are, right? You give, you get, you receive, you give. It's just a cycle. So you have influence over your other party, just like they have influence over you. This is called a relationship. Right? So you recruit them, and then you have a relationship with them to retain them. That's what sites should be doing too. Right? So if they are in a study, right, keep the visit time as short as possible. All right? Return calls. Which one of our coordinators is here right now? Carlos or Rosario?
They're both here.
One of them should come in here and talk about this slide.
They should.
What do you think about this?
Sure.
Would they be open to it?
No, but we can try.
Can you go ask one of them? Or you want me to? Okay. One of them come here. I want to interview them live on the webinar. Okay. Let's see, folks. We're doing this live. We have our 2 coordinators here because I can talk about this all day long. I've done this in the past, but we have coordinators that are doing it now. They're actively doing this. Okay, so keep the visit time as short as possible. Return calls, schedule them appropriately. Don't switch appointments last minute. Use Uber Health.
Sit in my chair.
Carlos is the brave one. How's it going? I'll try not to get sick.
Very much chickened out.
What a trooper, by the way. Carlos is here. So how do you keep patients happy, right? You made this slide. Okay. How do you keep patients happy?
Try to have their stuff ready when they get here.
Okay, so break it down. Like, what does that mean?
Like, I try to do the source. I do most of the source, so I have that ready.
Now, most of our patients here are mentally ill, so you offer other things too, right?
Yeah. Will they get cigarettes or soda?
Cigarettes and sodas, they love those things,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So you gotta find for your patient for them
For retention.
for retention.
Okay,
Yes.
let's go through some of these other things. So visit time as short as possible. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well,
That means if the patient wants to get in and out, and Carlos wants to, I don't know, what do you do for fun? Like microwave your food, for example, right?
yeah.
You can't do that at that time, right?
Yeah.
So break it down to these people so that they can understand.
Well, yeah, I'll try to have the source ready when they get here. I see them. I get them ready for the PI. Then the PI gets here, and usually everything's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And with the PI, it's quick too.
So what does this mean? Don't switch appointment last minute.
Oh yeah,
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that keep patients happy? And what you've seen examples of patients being unhappy because of this, right?
Yeah, some patients. We have a study that requires a nurse, so we have to coordinate with a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
For injections. Some of them don't like that. Sometimes the nurse isn't available on certain days.
Yes.
So then we try to schedule them ahead of time. Have those dates ready for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we've lately, this year we started with Uber Health. So it's not just the regular Uber; it's Uber Health. It's a division of Uber. It's just for medical offices. How's that working? Patients like it?
Yeah, we haven't had any complaints. Some of them drive from LA. It's about an hour away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they seem to like it.
It's about 50 miles.
Yeah. I mean, it works for us. Before I would have to drive them, and now I have more time where I can make sure I have everything done by the end of the day.
And then entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay. So like movies, for example, or feeding them when they're here. We feed them. We bring them lunch, right? Like we'll go buy them lunch.
Yeah.
Anything to keep the patients happy. And by the way, you made these slides.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic so far.
Thank you.
I'm only on slide 4 out of 15.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, stick around because I wanted to bring you in just for this part because this is what you do primarily most of the time. Now let's get into now these incentives have to be allowed by the study, right? Like meals, transportation. Most sponsors don't have a problem with this. They just don't want you to have any coercion when it comes to like overpaying patients. But as far as keeping them happy while they're there, it's all fair. You know, this is par for the course for most sites. All right, now it's for physicians. So Carlos, you can stick around. But this is more for Chris. You're gonna come back for the keeping CRAs happy. Okay. So go do what you need to do and come back in maybe 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay. We're gonna do CRAs. So Chris will do this one with me. Okay. Keeping physicians happy. Chris is a specialist at this.
Chris is not.
Chris keeps all of our physicians so happy. They've never been happier in the history of our businesses. No, but seriously. For physicians, the bottom line is, look, they're either a partner with you, or they're like a consultant, or a contractor, or an employee. Okay.
So with our site network,
yes,
I would say the most common theme that upsets PIs that I've come across are twofold. One is they feel like the PIs feel like the sites have misled them on how much time they're going to have to dedicate to research.
Why, it's more than they thought?
Yeah. And then secondly is payments. They're concerned they're not getting paid as they thought they should be.
Right.
Those are the two most common themes. So what I would suggest to counter that would be one, try and give an honest evaluation of what time you think the PI will have to dedicate to the study. And then secondly, when it comes to payment, I think the easiest way to pay a PI is a percentage and pay them of the gross. That way each check you receive, you're showing them a copy of the check, and you're giving them whatever percentage you agreed of that check. That way they understand, because usually on those breakdowns of the checks, usually you can have somewhere on there may give, and I shouldn't say usually, but often gives a total amount they paid for the study thus far, so they can see that their percentage is lining up with that they're not being, in some way cheated out of some money that's owed to them.
Right. Be overly communicative with the PI. Keep an open channel of communication. I think my strategy, and this is, we've done an entire webinar on how to work with your PI and keep them happy.
Sure.
We've done an entire webinar on each of these pillars.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just kind of putting them all together. It was a good way to end the year. It's a good way to start the new year. A lot of people are going to hear this like towards the new year, right? Because this is now December 16th.
Are you on a call?
No, my phone is ringing, sir.
Oh,
this
okay.
happens a lot. It's 2020 world.
Oh, it's still
Actually, I'm surprised people are calling me instead of texting me more. I need more text, less calls.
Sure.
But yes, you're right, Chris. Thank you for sharing all of that. So pay is important. Obviously, your PI is either, or your physician. I mean, look, a lot of these sites, if you follow our advice, you're getting physicians. You're starting them out as sub-Is and then they're becoming PIs. Okay, whatever the case may be, they are going to want to get paid, whether they're a partner, whether they're a contractor, employee, consultant, whatever the case may be. They're not going to do this for free. Unless you're working at a nonprofit, even there, they're going to want a salary.
Or their Mother Teresa, but few and far between.
I haven't met any.
I mean, neither.
Right.
Few and far between.
You and I are the closest thing to Mother Teresa in this industry.
I wouldn't even go that far.
No, maybe not. Maybe. Well, no. I still would say probably yes. Okay.
I don't know if that's saying much, though.
That's not saying much. Pay is important at the end of the day. If they get a percentage, communicate. So like Chris said, over communicate. Let's see if we need to bring Carlos back. Not yet. He gets one more slide to relax. And then maybe he'd come back on the next slide. I haven't looked. Okay, so most inexperienced PIs will leave, just like Chris said. I mean, if you guys should have heard Chris saying this. It bars repeating.
Sure.
From our experiences with our hundreds of clients.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Say it again, Chris, please. We got to ring in the new year with this. This is like motivation for everybody.
There's 2 points that they seem to complain about. That is getting paid less than they thought they would. And
take notes right now, people.
And having to provide more of their time than they thought would be necessary because they were led otherwise. So those are the two most common complaints. There's a third complaint, but it's less, very much less. It's just they're not aware of what they thought. They thought they knew what they needed to know to do research, right? They were misdirected on the learning curve. But that's not nearly as much or as bad either. The other two sites do lose PIs over. So time and money.
Mm-hmm. Don't be dependent on a single PI and constantly recruit new PIs. Okay, Carlos did a good job with these slides. Now, this is more Carlos here. Okay, it's keeping physicians happy continued, but it's now with the angle of monitors bugging them for stuff.
Oh.
Should we bring him back? Carlos, let's get him back. And let's get him a Dayquil too. He's sick.
That's on him.
Did you take medicine?
No.
Okay, we're going to give you some medicine. Have a seat. Well, I think I have Dayquil in my car. You want me to go get it?
No.
Okay.
Dan's going to dope you up.
Whatever.
Well, this is now back to you. Okay. So this is about keeping physicians happy.
Okay.
With the perspective of monitor requests. You deal with this. I could talk about this all day long too, but I used to do this. I'm not in the trenches like you. Mm-hmm. You're doing this now every day, mm-hmm. Right? Your PI here loves you, right? You're definitely keeping your PI happy.
What about her?
She's not here. Rosario?
No, there's a male and a female PI.
Oh, the main one. The she.
The she.
Okay. I don't know your relationship with the other guy.
You say he?
We have two PIs here. I don't know how you do with the other guy, but with the female, you do very good. Okay. I don't know. Chris, maybe you tell us how he does with the other guy.
Yeah. She loves him. Well, him too. Both of them.
Okay. So
they both like you more than Rosario?
I don't know.
enough.
Maybe we should get Rosario here to explain what she's doing, But
What she's doing wrong?
yeah, but keeping physician. So what do you do? How do you do it? Because here it says know which monitor request can wait and batch requests for documents such as updated regulatory forms whenever possible. So monitors bombard you all the time with stuff. Hey Carlos, I need this. Hey Carlos, I need that. Hey, I need this. Like I'm a monitor. I do this now too. When I was a coordinator, I used to be bombarded also.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you do? Like, how do you keep her from going crazy with all these requests while at the same time keeping your monitor happy, which is the next stakeholder actually. So you'll stick around for that slide too.
No,
Okay, but how do you do this? How do you do it? Because you actually do it very well. You and Monica and Rosario do it very well.
just look at your emails and just make sure you're printing everything out. I have different folders for things, so the PI has
I
a
told her to
folder.
come in here and defend herself.
A folder where she knows
not
that
interested.
I put things in there for her to sign.
Okay.
Usually there'll be any of the the slide says any of those forms like 1572s when they update them
Mm-hmm.
or the amendments. We just got amendments, so we have to make sure she signs that when she gets here. I'll have that for the other PI. I'll have stuff ready for him. If he comes once a week, it's there. And then
So you batch.
yeah,
Batching is your strategy.
or yeah.
Now, what do you tell the monitors in the meantime? Like, let's say it's Monday, and then you batched everything for Friday for your PI. How do you get the monitors to? How do you keep the monitors happy, which is the next stakeholder?
Oh yeah. Oh, just communicate to them. Just tell them, oh, doctor won't be here till this date, so
Okay.
I can't bring in earlier, so they know. And at least they could tell the sponsor, oh, they don't have it yet.
Yes.
But they'll have it by Friday. And if there's been a few times where they wanted it earlier, so we've had to go find the PI. If we need to, we do that. But usually, it could wait a couple days.
Mm-hmm. Your last line here is very important. Most things will not be urgent and important.
Yeah.
Okay. They might be urgent to the monitor, but they're not really urgent to the study.
Yeah.
They might be important to the monitor. They're not really important to. So you have to kind of figure out, okay, what's important? Is this worth bothering my PI right now? Maybe my PI is having a bad day. Do I need to bombard them with this, or can this wait till maybe tomorrow when they're happier?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I could have already added a slide there for urgent, important, urgent,
Love the
not
shirt.
important, not important, urgent.
All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The little quadrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Okay, keeping sponsors. Stay here, because look, you just like the slide says, you're doing a good job. Okay, keeping sponsors and CROs happy. So everything sponsors and CROs request is both urgent and important.
Yeah.
Okay. To them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's to us too at some level.
To us, and that's where you got to find. Okay, where is it to both?
Mhm.
Where is this urgent and important actually, and where is this just urgent and important for them?
Mhm.
You have to know, and you only know with experience.
Yeah.
Because think about when you were new. Okay, you would get bombarded just as much as you get now from monitors. But when you were new, you didn't know what was important and what wasn't. Now you do,
Yeah.
right? You see,
Yeah.
that's experience, or you don't.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, I just had something training.
Yeah.
The trainings when there's an amendment or something that you have to have it done before a patient gets here, because you can't see the patients if you haven't trained on them.
Very good. That bears repeating. What is it again?
You can't see the patients if you haven't trained for the new amendment.
New protocol amendment.
Yeah.
Guys, take notes here. This is very important. Chris is over there nodding his head. This is so important. Okay, so enrolling patients is typically the most important priority for a sponsor at the end of the day. Okay, and they expect sites to enroll the patients they promise.
Yeah.
So now you got to go back to stakeholder one, keep them happy, right? Because then that trickles down to everyone else. It's like Reaganomics, trickle down economics. Okay, keep the patients happy. Now it trickles down. You like that? The Ben Shapiro reference?
Yeah.
Trickle down to the sponsors and the physicians. Everybody's happy, okay? And then the site owners are happy. Site owners, this is primarily for you. You're not a stakeholder, okay? But you are everything. You are this whole thing, okay? But it's your job to keep all these guys happy, and then you're happy.
So I'd add.
No one can hear you, Chris. You're in the other room.
I would add urgent and important. There's oftentimes, because to this day, there's oftentimes I'll receive email. I have no idea if this is urgent or important. And what I'm referring to is CRA emails, right? Because every CRA email, not every, but many, stress urgent and important, right?
Correct.
So if it's like the boy who cried wolf. You see that too often, and you're clueless on what's urgent and important.
Yeah, you don't know.
Right? Like that happens often, right?
Yeah.
Next slide. Let's see if they continue to be good slides by Carlos. I like this. So keeping sponsors and CROs happy continued. Okay. Are your monitors happy with you? All of them.
So.
All of them? Okay. Good. So sites must always meet timeline requirements from sponsors, even if they are meeting enrollment rates. So explain what you mean by this.
Well, I mean, I get it from your video, but I think you guys were talking about how some sites might think because they're enrolling, they don't have to worry about turning in certain documents,
data entry, answering queries.
Yeah, but I think it's still important. And I think that just had to be stressed.
Didn't you just go to a site that didn't have the greatest of data entry?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Yes. Keeping their timelines?
No, but they are doing a good job in meeting enrollment rates.
Right, but not in data entry.
Not in data entry, no.
Timeline requirements.
But I'm still, for that side, I'm a happy monitor because it doesn't take much to keep me happy. Just let me do my report and get out of there.
And sponsors are going to be more happy with you if you have great enrollment and horrible data entry opposed to the reverse of that. They won't be happy with you. Great data entry, horrible enrollment, yeah, they're not going to be happy with you.
Yeah, and I'm loving having Carlos here in addition to Chris because it's like makes these webinars just go so much smoother. So next year we might have you join many more. Okay. Maybe we'll get Rosario in here also next year.
You're not allowed to be sick next year.
So CRAs represent the sponsor's need. Any CRA request should be given proper attention. You can actually get or not get future studies based on how happy your CRA is with you. Okay, It's possible you will get a study. It's possible you will not get a study if your CRA is happy or unhappy with your work during the study. And that boils down to the most important relationship in clinical research that I think deserves more attention. So it's not that really the most important relationship. The most important relationship is between the site and the patient. But the most important relationship in research that doesn't get talked about is CRA-CRC. We've done a whole webinar on this too. And so this goes hand in hand with keeping them happy. Right. So let's go to the next slide. This is good. Anyone that has questions, type, or because you're on the webinar. Okay. I don't know. Keep employees happy. You did the good job here, but you don't have any employees. Maybe in the future. You think you're opening a site?
Not right now.
Oh, not right now.
You never know.
Never know. Okay, so Chris, this is good for you. Most sites should focus on keeping key personnel happy. Right?
Sure.
All right. So site owners have complete control over the environment that they promote at their site. So some sites, they'll pay more. Other sites give more as far as like work-life balance. Other sites do things like create opportunities and give you tasks that can translate better into future careers. I mean, whatever the case may be, right?
Some sites are dictatorships.
Some sites are dictatorships. So this one is very important to keep the employees happy. Well, this is not a good turnout at all. Keeping
Monday.
It's you know what it is. It's the holidays.
Yeah.
But people are gonna watch on YouTube and on podcast, and then all the people that registered get the replay link. So this is it's understandable why we don't have many questions today. But let's get back into it. Okay, so keeping the employees happy. All right. Site owners can be lenient with their site rules to allow employees to focus on important tasks. This is Chris. Now's your chance to assess Chris.
Better be careful what you say.
End of year assessment for Chris. Okay, how is he?
Well, I deal more with Rosario. She's more.
Okay, so throwing it on her now.
Yeah. I mean, Chris kind of steps back and lets her run.
I told her a long time ago, Rosario's on you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so okay, that's good.
I
So,
got a free day last week.
okay,
I
okay.
took a day off.
What was that for?
That was
Let everybody know. I want to know.
Now we're just putting it out there.
That was just I didn't get sick the whole year. I got sick after I got my sick day.
Oh, so you got your sick day and then you got
I
sick.
got sick. Yeah.
See,
It's starting to sound like Sam Darnold.
Karma.
So I get playing hooky.
Starting and if I may use a football reference, sounds like Sam Darnold in the week 1 through 5. Okay,
Yeah,
just
I
a mystery
guarantee you
illness.
6 people have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
That's what I'm saying. 6. 1 in 5.
For right now. Later on, we'll
Yeah, I
have
heard
people that
it's
get it.
football. That's all I.
Okay, so take Fridays off, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Have options for career development.
Mm-hmm.
This is we're doing this for you. Start their work day later.
Yeah, I do that.
You guys start the work day like in the evening. Okay, and dress casual. Yeah,
Yeah.
or everyone who can see this can see. So we're following practice what we preach.
Sure.
Okay, what's the next webinar gonna be on? I didn't send you anything yet, right? What's the next one?
Trick question.
Trick question.
I can give suggestions.
You guys, we're gonna go off tangent because we can on this. Well, this is the loose webinar, the last one of the year. Go off tangent. One of our former students got tricked in an interview question, and
Seriously?
it's like in baseball when the pitcher throws a nasty slider.
Yeah.
Like
you think it's a fastball?
Yeah, and then it's just like way out of the strike zone.
Yeah, and they're swinging at complete air.
This is what happened. So the student, no, he's good. He came here. He knows all the stuff, like knows everything. In the interview, and they sandwiched this question in between a bunch of questions. They said, how does a CRA help the site in designing a CRF? And this is a trick question.
Well, I would have said that's not something a CRA
Exactly,
typically does.
that's the answer.
But if that ever were a requirement, then I would have gave something.
Right. So you don't even need to. Just the first part, you're good.
I would have tried to cover all bases, just in case.
Yes, but this is hard when you're not experienced.
Right.
And it's sandwiched in between a bunch of other questions. So then you're just going to go by textbook answers.
Sure. They're testing to see if this person truly has experience.
They're testing. So anyways, back to keeping employees happy. You know that, right? You knew the answer for that. How does a CRA help the sites design an EDC system?
They don't.
Exactly. You would have passed.
Or a PANS.
So this is our example of keeping you happy. Okay, we're constantly giving you things to do so that you know if you ever were to be interviewed for CRA, which you don't want to do, but if you were, you would know how to answer this, right? Yeah. So all employees will leave at some point, except you, Carlos. You will not. So find ways of letting employees know that working for you is good for them long term. This is true for you, right? Take notes. Keeping employees happy can go a long way when your payroll is limited. All right. Other stakeholders. Now we get the 4 main ones out of the way. Yeah. Patients, CROs, and sponsors, physicians, employees. Now other stakeholders. Okay, who are they? Other business partners or sub-Is at the site. For example, here we have the nurse practitioners. There are other stakeholders, right? Regulators like the IRB. You got to keep them happy. Certain vendors, even though it's their job to keep you happy, sometimes you got to keep the vendors happy. Like in our case with the clinical surveillance team, where we screwed up. It was my fault, but we screwed up. You got to keep that vendor happy, or they show you what they do when they're not happy. Yeah. They get rid of you. Okay. So running a site will demand that you persuade your stakeholders to work with you and that doing so is beneficial to them. Okay. This was a great webinar. Great slides by Carlos. Chris and I are going to do our next podcast today for January webinar. Okay. You're welcome to join us for it. Sites will struggle to find what their strengths are and will instead focus on their weaknesses. For example, when sponsors ask for site information, sites forget to mention their strengths. This happens a lot during site selection visits. Right? The sites are nervous if it's a new coordinator especially or a new PI. Sponsor asks for information. Sites don't focus on their strengths. They focus on what they don't have. That's not a good strategy, okay? Got to focus on your strengths. So that's it for today's webinar. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for listening, and for catching the podcast. Thank you, Carlos and Chris, and we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.